I'm very happy now to introduce our keynote opening speaker, Ben Ha. So Ben Ha was born in Seoul, South Korea. Then he moved to the US and studied journalism, even though English wasn't his first language. And then in 2007, you bought a very tiny blog at that time called I Can Has Cheeseburger. When I think about that, I think about this. So if you haven't checked out the website now, you have probably another minute before he starts. So quickly go on your phone, check the website. It's hard to describe, but basically this website got 1.5 million views per day at some point, and is probably the only website which was able to monetize memes, if I can say it that way. And you're actually allergic to cats, right? Okay, I got it. Okay, so I think that's it. I actually stepped recently down as the CEO of the Cheeseburger Network, and maybe he's going to tell you more about this in his talk. I'm very excited, actually. So all the way from Seattle, please join me in welcoming Ben Ha.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. We're here staying with Ambassador Susie and Eric and at the U.S. Embassy, and it's been amazing to meet people, entrepreneurs, researchers from all over Switzerland, because this country has a lot of technical prowess. And I think there's a lot of real potential here. And I want to share with you what makes me want to be an entrepreneur, because you're here for a reason. You're not here just to spend 40 hours with other smelly people to see if you can come up with some code, right? You're here because you want to be something more. Well, I feel the same way too. Now that I've stepped down as CEO of Cheeseburger, a company that I've been running for 8 years, the question that I have for myself is, who do I want to be when I grow up? Right? I'm not quite grown up just yet. I'm still looking for what is it that drives my passion, what is it that makes me want to get up and go to work and just kick some serious ass. Because you guys want to feel that way too. So for me, that is the pursuit of entrepreneurial happiness. I want to be a happy entrepreneur, not a sad one, not a broke one, not a bad one, but a happy entrepreneur. So this is the company that I ran. So as in the introduction, I bought a cat picture website back in 2007, which I was told was a bad idea. Turned out it wasn't. And I also did other things, like we acquired Failblog. It was a tiny little site at the time. We grew it. Meme-based, Know Your Meme. Obviously, I Can Have Cheeseburger being the first site that we bought. And we built this network for humor. And what people did was they came to our site, captioned cat photos, and we posted the funniest cat photos on the internet at the time. And so this idea wasn't mine. It did come from another couple that posted that first photo that you saw, and that wasn't even their photo or caption. That stuff came from 4chan and other forums. And so what we did was we became the clearinghouse and the mainstream accessible portion of this weird basement of the internet. And it really was the dank basement of the internet. And so I've done that for 8 years, and I stepped down because I felt that I wanted to do something else. And so one of the epiphanies that I had a couple years ago was, if you feel like you're going to live forever. If you don't know when you're going to die, then you live like you're going to live forever. There's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of yearning for what is important or meaningful. And so I asked myself the question, how much time do I have left? How much time do you have left to live? No one actually knows the answer to this question, but we can actually run through a mental exercise. We can actually pretend that maybe we know the answer. So I did a life expectancy calculator. I put in my numbers. I'm a non-smoker. I don't exercise very much. I live a relatively sedentary lifestyle. So let's say if I continued that, what does medical science and statistics say? It says I will die on September 9th, 2060. No! I thought I was going to live to like 2,500 or something. No, that's not how aging works. Maybe some robots will suck up my brain and I can live in the cloud. But this body will be over 50% chance by September 9th, 2060. So I was like, what do I do? So I calculated. So this was 2014 when I did this math. So I calculated and it said, what do I have left in my life? Right? So I have 46 Thanksgiving dinners or New Year's. I have, based on my reading pattern, I have about 962 books to read. I have 8,336 dinners with my wife. Whether that's a lot or too little, ask my wife. I have 7,143 bananas left to eat. That's a lot of bananas. But it gives you some perspective. It turns into numbers, this feeling that you have about the rest of your life. And the question becomes, is 46 New Years a lot? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What are you going to do with them? And the question became, if I'm going to spend 8 hours a day at work, maybe more, why bother with work? It seems like life's pretty short. So why go to work? Why not just yawn and go to sleep and just live a comfortable, life? Don't work too hard. Why should I go to work every day? Especially because my company did something strange. We specialize in temporary reliefs. Like, we were aspirin for your sad day. The mission statement of Cheeseburger is to make the world happy for a few moments every day. We're not curing cancer. We're not creating self-driving cars. We're not even delivering underwear over the internet. We gave you cat photos and videos of people getting kicked in the nuts. Is this a job worth doing? Right? This is when the U.S. Embassy starts to regret bringing me on stage here. But what I really want to do is, not only do I want to make the world happy for a few minutes every day, but I want to make an amazing business doing it. I am a creator. I am a maker. I like to build things. I have a degree in journalism, so I have to hire people to build things, but I still like to build things. That's what makes me happy. I want to get a team together, give them a purpose, give them a direction, and then help them do it. That's what leadership is about. And I wasn't born this way, but I've learned that from a lot of really important and smart people who've given me these lessons. So, what is work and what is purpose? What is the difference between what you do and why you do it? Right? Purpose is why we wake up every day. Work is what we do, what we happen to be doing. It is the output of why you wake up every day. Purpose, you will never be good at the reason you came to this planet. It is a thing that you will work on for the rest of your life. Work, you can actually be good at. It is a skill set you can hone. Purpose is never over, right? This is something you're going to work on until the day you die. Work has a finish line. You can accomplish it, you can shut it down, and you can go home. Purpose means you do something with more people. You do it collectively. You need a team because it is bigger than you. Work is something you can do alone and get done. So that means that for me to build something, my happiness is hiring people who do great work and giving them a purpose that unites them towards that goal. Fred Wilson, the venture capitalist who has a very well-read blog, makes it very clear that to be a great CEO, you only need to do 3 things. 1, make sure you don't run out of money. Pretty simple, right? 2, hire and retain the best people. Recruit them and make sure they're happy doing what they do, right? And 3, to be clear in communicating your vision and mission to your team and to the rest of the world. Why are you coming to work? Do you have the best team? And do you have the resources to get the job done? That is the role of the CEO. Everything else is bonus. Everything else is just, that's nice. If you do not do those 3 things, you cannot be a great CEO. And that's his blog post, and I truly believe that. So if I want to make things, that's not very good, but that's okay, because you are at a hackathon. You are making this. I want to make sure that you are clear in your goal. Your job is not to make this, okay? This is a finely polished, super expensive, mature solution. That works okay. You will probably not die from food poisoning, and if that is your bar, you are being efficient. If you're building this, you're being stupid and not efficient. This requires lots of people, lots of time. That does not. What I want you to think about is how to get the job done just barely enough so that you can live to fight another day. That if you spend the time doing the right things to get the job done, just to get just the bare essentials done, maybe your idea can be refined later when you build a company or build a bigger team. So I'll tell you how progress usually happens. Okay, and this is a preview of your next 40 hours. This is how people think progress happens. This is what I call the standard model of progress. You acquire a skill, you get promoted at your job, you use the money, and then you forgot how you got there in the first place, and you go try to get another promotion. Okay? This is the stair-step career progress. You start on one step, and you move on to the next one. You keep climbing up until you're dead. That's what people think careers look like. When you're in college, when you graduate, people are like, work your way up the ladder. That's BS. That's not how progress works. Progress is really messy. I mean, you saw it in Susie's career. It's quite messy. The non-standard model of progress is really how entrepreneurship works. You get money, then you gain expertise, and you create something, and you do it over and over and over again by going back to the beginning of getting money, gaining experience, and creating something. It is not a stair step that progressively moves you up the ladder. You sometimes move up, you fall off and fall on your ass, and then you try it again. Because the difference between the two, if you're an entrepreneur and you succeed, all you're doing is you have a bigger pool of money to start with the next time. If you fail, you have a smaller pool of money to work with next time. That's the only difference. I know this from personal experience. I wasn't born, I don't even know if that's a cat. I wasn't born to be an entrepreneur. I think there's this really interesting myth that people are born entrepreneurs. I also was not a good public speaker. This is a skill set that I had to learn at. You have to acquire these skills and you have to make mistakes doing it. And I made a lot of mistakes. In 2001, after my first startup closed, I was $40,000 in debt, in depression, contemplating suicide. I'm willing to share this with you because there's no shame in admitting that you have failed. There is no shame in admitting that you had a problem. We all have problems. You guys are going to have a lot of problems this weekend. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to say, I don't know. The smartest people in the world got there by saying, I don't know, because other smart people came in to help. In 2001, I closed my startup after 18 months of operations. Just as a little side note, I started my first company in January of 2000. I started my second company in September of 2007. If anybody here is really good at financial history, you'll know that they're both the beginning of the recessions. Follow me on my Facebook or Twitter, and I'll let you know when I start my next company. In 2007, I was out of debt. I moved to Seattle. I raised $2.24 million and started a company. The first thing we did was buy this cat picture website called I Can Ask Cheeseburger. Yeah, it's kind of strange, right? And then I said, you know what? We built this blog network, bought more websites. It was going really, really well. We were profitable. Holy crap, we were profitable. Like, we were actually making money and growing. In 2011, I was like, you know what? I think the market's going to change. Even though things are going really well now, I think we need to do something different. So I went to the big red button and I said, reset. I raised $30 million from a group of venture capitalists and tried to pivot my media company into a platform company. It didn't go very well. Right? I took a thriving, successful, profitable business and one of the problems I had at the time was that the greatest lie that's ever told to entrepreneurs is that you can do it alone. That for some reason, whatever the problems of your company, whatever the burdens that you're feeling, is all on your shoulders. That as CEO, founder, as whatever god of that tiny little pond that you have created, that you can solve the problem by yourself, and that is absolutely not true. You are only as good as the team that you bring on, that you surround yourself with. And in fact, you see this a lot in early or first-time entrepreneurs, is that they will hire people who are not as smart as they are. And smart investors watch this, right? If you are a great entrepreneur and you hire somebody and they're clearly not up to par, what happens to the average intelligence of that organization or the average capability of that organization? Becomes lower. If you're an entrepreneur and you are not experienced, but you have the ability to recruit people to say, I don't know and I want you to help me, and you bring somebody who is smarter, more experienced than you, What does that say about your leadership skill? That you can bring somebody with more experience and more talent than you. That is a skill set that you want to repeat over and over again to build the best team around you. If you look around the room of your teammates and go, I am probably not the smartest person here, you are doing the right thing because they're going to help you get there. If you look around the room and you're the smartest guy in the room, it's not going to go well. So 2013, after not doing so well, I brought in a brand new team. Brought in a new exec team who was much more experienced than I was and asked them for help. So today, after stepping down, I want to reinvent who I am. That means I'm not the media guy anymore. By the way, you're also listening to a man who is currently unemployed, so congratulations. So my wife and I have decided to travel the world for 12 months. We're about 2 months in, and I want to learn new ideas. I want to start building things on my own. I want to start at the bottom. In fact, currently what I'm doing is I'm making travel videos, so I'm probably one of the lowest rated, or I'm probably one of the travel YouTubers with the lowest number of followers on YouTube. So you got that going for you too. You're also listening to me on that one. So this reinvention means humbling myself to a point where I'm going to learn something new. I had probably edited 2 videos before this, and I am learning how to edit videos. I can hire somebody to do it, but it's better for me to know how to roll up my sleeves and do it myself. And I'm going to be doing that, doing things like this to learn from the beginning in many different areas, and that's why we're traveling, to see how the rest of the world works. And hopefully by the end of this journey, I will have a new company and a new passion and a new mission. And this process of reinvention, as you start this process of a hackathon, you are reinventing who you are. Your core values of what you believe in and your talents stay, but how you build something will be, just for this period, a reset. And what happens is you'll first come up with resistance. I don't know if I want to reinvent myself. I don't know if I want to be somebody else. I'm happy being who I am, or I'm comfortable, most likely. I'm comfortable. Comfort is your enemy. Comfort is the thing that makes you not learn. Push yourself to be with an uncomfortable idea, with people you might not have associated with before, to find diversity of ideas, to find something different. And then when you recognize that you want to be different, you'll have this moment. Maybe I am not who I think I am. When you start to believe that you could be somebody else, that new truth leads to the moment that you flip. Oh my God, I'm a terrible YouTuber, and I'm okay with that. Right? Oh my God, I don't have a job. I need to start a new company. I'm okay with that. And then you have to go through the process of sacrifice. You'll be sleeping under tables, you'll be tired, but that sacrifice of pushing yourself is really the important crucible that you will go through to become the new you. And then at the end, you'll be reinvented. Because when this arrives, right, when you are at the end of your life and you look back, that person that you've become is how you will judge the life before you. You will not judge your life and the happiness and all of that by the lens that you had when you were a child. You will only be able to judge your life at the end through the lens of all the experiences that you've had. And the more experiences you've had, and the braver you were at reinventing who you are, the better perspective you will have about the life you led. This is the rest of your life. Whoever you're going to become next is going to be the better you. And it is better that you start now than later. Thank you very much.
For your inspiring words. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we have time for
questions.
5 questions. So who wants to ask the first question?
I hear the Swiss are not very good at it. Okay.
Right. We have a microphone.
Sorry?
I can also repeat the question.
Nah,
What was
it's
it?
a joke.
Okay.
Do you want to join our team?
More questions?
I don't know how to code, so good luck with that. I'll eat all your food. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes.
There's one, yeah.
And keep your hands raised so they can deliver the mics to you. That way everybody can hear what your questions are over the internet as well.
Okay. First, thanks for your talk. Amazing.
Thank you.
And second question, how did you raise $30 million?
How do you raise $30 million? That's a great question. You put yourself and your company in a situation where you don't need it. I know that's like a weird answer. Venture capitalists, I'm in Switzerland, so I need to be careful here. Venture capitalists are bankers. They want to give you money when you don't need it. Oh God, no one's laughing. If you go to a bank, you apply for a loan, and you really, really desperately need a loan because you're in a desperate situation, it's not a good idea. When you go to a bank and you have tons of money and you apply for a loan, guess what? You get a loan, right? That's how banking works. There's credit and all that stuff. Your credibility is dependent on your ability to build a really kick-ass business. And if your business is growing and profitable, guess what? People come to you and say, would you like $30 million? Now, you don't have to be profitable, but you do need to be growing. You need to be moving your key metrics. And you need to be able to say, like the great baseball player Babe Ruth, there. Right? So this is like the most bravest thing an entrepreneur can do, which is 12 months from now, we're going to be there. And then you freaking hit that ball out of the park and you go, oh, look, we're there and beyond. If you can do that, you can raise money. All right, next question.
Thank you for a very inspirational speech. Now, should we be worried that you're going to open a company in a year from now?
Should you be worried that I'm going to be opening a company from here now?
Okay, jokes aside. Sorry.
No. I'll tell you an interesting anecdote. There's been a research done on when you should start a company. When should you start a startup? Is it during boom times, during a recession? It turns out, actually, it makes no difference. It doesn't matter if you do it the day before the stock market crashes or if you actually do it in the middle of the recession or the beginning of the boom time. It turns out that great companies are born regardless of the economic conditions. Now, what that actually says is that there is no one path to success. You get this question all the time if you're an entrepreneur and some people ask you questions. It's like, what is the secret to making money? What is the secret to growing your business? Please don't tell. The secret is that there is no secret. That's kind of the depressing part about all this, is that you will have to figure out what is the right answer for your business at your time, for your industry, with your people. These are all unique fingerprint-like circumstances. There's a lot of people in the world, and we may not be unique little snowflakes. There may be somebody who's just like you somewhere else on the part of this planet. However, I do believe that every business is a unique little snowflake.
I wanted to ask actually about how to raise the 2 million that you got first without seemingly any entrepreneurship experience, at least track record of success. That was more interesting.
Yeah, so how did I raise my first $2 million? So again, this goes back to there's no one right way to do anything. I had an angel investor friend, and I convinced him to help me raise money. And I gave him a portion of the business to do it. Now, I don't recommend that. That's not a very orthodox way of doing things. But again, I was running a business where I wanted to buy a cat picture website. So whatever, right? Whatever works. But if you are raising money, I'll give you this advice. If you're in a situation where you can actually raise money and you have multiple offers, right, that's a great situation. So how do you know who to take money from? Like if you have a choice of investors and you could only choose, let's say, 5 out of 10, how do you do that? Well, if you can raise money from important people, famous people, people with great networks. Those things in and of themselves are not the best options. And the reason why is that investors are not the most helpful when things are going well. When things are going well, your investors do things like send you an email that says, great job, thanks, right? When things are going bad is when you really need your investors. I know that sounds weird. Hey, I've spent all your money, I need more. That's what usually happens. And every startup, every successful startup goes through multiple incidents in which they may be dead. So what happens is that you will need these investors. And how do you know that these investors will help you during the bad times and not just the good? You need to have a shared value. They need to believe in your mission. They need to believe in you, not just have the network or the money or the name. If you find those investors and you have a choice of investors, pick those people. Pick the ones that believe in you, not the ones with the most money, with the best name, with the best network. So,
This is going to be a stupid question, but do you have to give the money back at some point? And if so, how do you do it?
And that's a great question. There are actually many models of venture capital financing today. Your classic risk-based investment is that you give equity in exchange for cash, so you will not ever need to return that money. Also, try not to run off with it. There are other ones like venture debt, where you can actually raise debt based on your performance or based on other assets that you may have, and those will need to be paid back. And then there's actually classic debt, which is a line of credit you may take from a bank. But the world is actually changing very rapidly, especially in the United States. It is no longer just angels and VCs, but there's a wide spectrum of capital that's available for you. So as CEO, as an entrepreneur, knowing those options is one of those three things that you have to do, right? Never run out of money. So, yeah. Yes?
As you're traveling the world, thank you so much for your talk. As you're traveling the world and you're looking at different places, and I assume as an entrepreneur you could set up anywhere, what are you looking for in a place to set up shop? What is it that you think a place needs to offer you?
The place that I'm looking for to set up shop is very, very simple. Is there a huge amount of talented people who share the same values that I do, of taking risk, of not being afraid to fail, of working hard and wanting to build something amazing? Now, the United States, if I may, is somewhat weird in that way. Not even all of the United States. The technology sector within the United States has drunk the Kool-Aid on failure. It is the only place in the world that I've seen that has successfully decided that failure is not necessarily a bad thing. And so I like being there, right? Because I'm going to take big risks. And so if you can build a culture where failure is just a lesson learned and not the end of your career, then that will actually help that country or that city or that region build a great place for entrepreneurship. There's also a second part. If you want to A lot of countries are trying to figure out how do they become the next Silicon Valley. I'll give you one piece of advice about what is actually wrong about the United States right now. What is the biggest Achilles heel of the United States? We have effectively shut out women from the technology market. And if you can figure out a culture, a society that values female contribution in science and technology as much as the males, then you will have a leg up because you will include the participation of you'll double the amount of potential talent that you have in your market. So, yes.
One back there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Hi. I think it's very brave for you to take a year off and say that you're starting from ground zero. And you mentioned that you should reach beyond your comfort zone, you should dream high, have a purpose in life. But this is a 40-hour hackathon, so I wonder, how do you apply your drive and your approach to life for something that you hope to be feasible, and within 39.5 hours you have something to show to the judges?
That's an excellent question. This is the safest environment you will ever get to work in. You could build an app whose only job when you press the button is to make poop catch on fire. Who cares? Right? Take the risk you've always wanted to take. Because at the end of this, if you fail, guess what? Nothing happens other than you've learned, had a great time, and you're a little sleep deprived. If you go out in the real world and say to your boss, give me 40 hours, give me a work week, and let me go do something, and you show up with the poop flaming app, might not work out so well for you. Do what you've always wanted to do, right now, this weekend. Yeah, where's the microphone? Just somebody talk. Yes, please.
I have a very deep and fundamental question.
Yes.
How long is Longcat?
How long is Longcat? It is very long. Arnold Schwarzenegger has I'll be back. I have long. Okay. All right, good. Here you go.
Hi. Thanks for the talk. I want to ask, you said it like you want to turn Cheeseburger into a platform. You meant like a network of sites or something different?
Something different. So what I saw was that we were running on WordPress, which is an amazing CMS. what we saw was that the ability for people to be creators needed more software than a blogging platform. And so what we wanted to do was take the existing network of sites, which had 50 plus sites at the time, and wanted to give people more tools and more ways of expressing themselves. Because what we saw coming back in 2010, 2009, before we raised our venture round, was that emotional expression online was moving from text to images. Right? Communication, humanity is actually going through a really interesting transformation right now, which is that you had two methods of communicating prior to the internet, really over long distances, text and speech. You could send a letter, you could call someone. Now, with the advent of smartphones and image manipulation tools, you could send an image that describes exactly the ennui of your life, right? So if you could do that, then the amount of communication tools that we have at our disposal is not enough. Text and speech is just not sufficient. You needed to create images, you need to manipulate them, you need to animate them, you need to do all these things. And so we wanted to build a platform that did that. Didn't quite work. But we're still a big media company, so there's that. Yeah.
One more question, actually.
One more, last question. This better be a good one. No pressure, anybody.
Yeah, I know. Where's the microphone? I think Max does it.
Somebody's running somewhere. There's somebody running over there, and he's got a microphone. Okay, here we go.
Okay, really short one. Hey, by the way, I think you are right now, like in this trading secret sharing mode, right? So
Sure.
maybe.
There are no real secrets.
So I just shoot.
Okay.
What's your method for giving birth for great ideas?
What is my method for giving birth to great ideas?
The focus on the giving birth part.
Okay. So I'm a man. I don't know what it's like to give birth. I'll tell you, it is not the quality idea that matters. It is how many ideas you can test. Right? This is the secret behind the lean startup methodology. Right? Small ideas, tested frequently, and a cultural change, and I don't know if that's already present here, but I've sensed in Switzerland it is not yet there. Ideas have no value. Zero. I have a great idea. I would like to build an operating system that never crashes. How valuable is that? Tremendously valuable, right? An operating system that doesn't crash is tremendously valuable. But why does that idea have zero value? Because you haven't made it possible. What makes ideas valuable is the ability for you to actually make it happen. Work, execution makes ideas valuable. If you have an idea that you think is great, the first thing you should do is tell somebody else whose ideas, whose mind you respect, about that idea. Do not be afraid. I'll tell you one mistake that early entrepreneurs make, especially in the United States. They will email an investor and say, I have a great idea. I'd like you to swear to secrecy, sign a non-disclosure agreement. Guess what happens? You'll never hear from that investor. Ideas have no value until you're able to pull it off. In fact, actually, in history, it turns out that every great idea had competitors who had the idea independently at the same time. So if you have a great idea and no one else has the same idea, chances are it's probably bad. So share your idea, talk, get feedback, and do it quickly because the clock's ticking. Thank you very much.